It's a mark of an artist to be able to turn down something that makes total logical financial sense.
Oof, that was brutal. That was really brutal to do that, and we did it a bunch of times.
Did you do it because you had sort of a stated goal in mind?
It wasn't like I had a manifesto. It was a little fear-based of like, well, we've just made a movie that's gotten great reviews and we're now like indie darlings. Like, we'll erase all of that if we go make a bad studio movie, and that will be on us, and we'll lose everything we've been building so far.
You were savvy enough to understand that.
Yeah, I kind of was like, this is not just like, I want to have more integrity and be a man. It was also like, you could blow everything here, you know? Because as a filmmaker, like, you make one bad movie and you're kind of out, you know? So then what we ended up doing is I wrote this script, Baghead, which ended up being our second movie. And I was like, this will be great. I can make this movie for like $50,000. I'll go around town. I'll ask a bunch of financiers to come give us like $250,000, which is so cheap to make a movie that could get into Sundance and sell. And they won't blink. They'll just give it to us. And all I want is to say, just give me the money. When we sell the movie, I'll take half of what it sells for. You take half what it sells for. It's like indie rock deals, you know?
Right.
It's like, it'll be great.
50-50.
And I took it around town, and everybody wanted to finance it. And I was like, I found the model. This is incredible. And we took meeting after meeting, and every single one of them couldn't keep their fucking hands out of the cookie jar. They wanted to make script changes. And they said, well, we want to put an accountant on set to know how you're spending the money. I said, you don't need to worry about that. My widgets of how I make it cheaply are my widgets, and you don't need to think about it. Just cut us the check. If $250,000, is it worth it to you to have a really good, and it's a horror movie, it'll sell, you know? And none of them could do it. So immediately, again, it wasn't an integrity move. I was like, fine, we'll just go. And what I was lucky enough to do is I had just signed my first writing deal to write something. So we took the money, some of the money we made from that, put it into Baghead, and then we went there, and then, you know, we ended up selling the movie for, you know, about 15 times what we made it for. And one of the financiers was really sweet. After the day after it sold, he sent me a text and he said, "Crow, not so tasty." And I was like, man, you're really cool. I really dig you. Thank you for sending that. But after that, that's where Jay and I were like, hold on. What we thought was the last ditch solution of we'll finance it ourselves is actually the best. I didn't have to deal with anybody. We might have a model here.
You know, it's so funny to hear you talk about that, because the number one rule in Hollywood
don't put your money into your stuff.
Don't use your own money.
Yeah.
How you doing? I'm Cory Hunter, and welcome to another episode with of Tips with Directors. In this clip, we saw Mark speak about making movies once again. The business model in terms of making movies. In the clip, they mentioned never use your own money, right? That's the golden rule. Never use your own money. But Mark actually do the opposite to it. He's a contradiction to that golden rule. He's saying, yes, use your own money to create your own things. And so let's get into it. Let's break it down. I've been reading up on a lot of directors. Because you know me, I use my own resources and whatever pennies I have to create the things that I create. And, you know, there's some people who also create, and they have a different mindset in terms of, you know, they're looking for investors. They're looking for that back door, that front door, that side door, whatever door that's going to get their foot into Hollywood or into a major production or opportunity or whatever the case may be. And my mindset is, I'm just gonna create it, right? Not necessarily if you build it, they will come, but you know, I just want to create it, man. I just want to be the captain of my ship. I see myself as a warlord, and the warlord have to have the capacity to wage war, right? If someone else is financing me, then I'm not a warlord. The investors are the warlords, and that bothers me because that invades or come upon my freedom and my ability to tell stories, right? What we want to believe is that we're warlords, and I mean, let's take it back. If you're a director, because directors is different. If you're a director, you would like to see yourself as a warlord who's receiving support from the investors. That's how we see things. That's the romanticized version of that story. what often happens is when we're negotiating, the writer directors, when they're negotiating with studios and whatever the case may be, they start realizing they're not the warlord, they're just a general under somebody else's fist. And then that start bothering them, because not that being a general is a bad thing, it's just that the general doesn't have the freedom to make certain decisions. They still have people above them. So if they know what the best battle strategy is, it could get overruled, it could get overturned, because it's not their battle, it's not their war. And that's what people who want to get movies made and they do get it funded, this is what they often learn. They learn, we want to go on set and we want to believe this is my movie and the movie's going to be the way that I envisioned it. That's romanticized. What often happens is they talk like that, and then somebody says, but it's not your movie because it's not your money. This is my movie, and I'm letting you guide the ship according to a blueprint or guidelines that I give you. And that's bothersome, right? That messes up our art, right? If you wrote your script a certain way and you see it and you're like, yo, this is the way it needs to be. And then, you bring it to somebody be like, yeah, that's nice, but this part I ain't feeling. And that's the part that resonate with you a lot. You're like, nah, I don't really, you're going to fight for that part. And then once you get that part, they're going to be like, well, all right, if you keep that, you got to change that. And the negotiations and the compromising, it waters down your art. You get frustrated, and now you're not creating the thing that you wanted to create. Now you have to decide what you want, right? You have to decide what you want. Granted, we're assuming that you even got that far in the process, because getting that far in the process is an accomplishment in itself, right? Because, not a lot of people got the strength or the legs, or they haven't gained the experience and time to perfect these scripts or pitches or whatever the case may be. Just being in that position is a blessing, right? Because, life is hard and these things are hard. But once we get there, we also got to decide, you know what I'm saying? Do we want the money or do we want the freedom to create the things that we want to create? And Mark is here saying he chose to create the thing that he wanted to create because it's true. And this brings us to the moral of the story, because I could go a whole bunch of places. The moral of the story is, if you take money from somebody, you're not the boss. That's bottom line. Like you said, they just couldn't keep their hand out the cookie jar because it's their cookies. They take money to invest in your cookie jar, then it's their cookie jar, right? Yeah, you're choosing the flavor of the cookies or whatever the case may be, but if they decide that, they don't want you to choose it anymore, it's not yours. It is what it is. And even if you did come up with an agreement, even if it is partially yours, it's not completely yours. So if it's not completely yours, you're going to have to still negotiate and compromise. It is what it is, all right? If you want something to be the way that you want it to be, completely the way that you want it to be, you're going to have to invest your own money. And that's just what it is, all right? You're going to have to pay. You're going to have to put out the money. And that's okay. I know that sounds rough, like, oh man, that ain't fair, but it's cool. If you got a passion project, man, put some money aside for it. Invest in it. Take your $6,000. Take $6,000 and put it into a short film, all right? If it means that much to you. If you don't want to do that, then it don't mean that much to you. That's just what it is. There's nothing wrong with investing in yourself, all right? Especially once you find the business model, right? Once you reach a level where you can create something to get profit off of it, then at that moment it becomes all worthwhile. And I'm gonna leave it right there. I think that's where we at. I hope you learned something, all right? Thank you. I appreciate you for coming out here and spending time with me, all right? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And as always, until next time. Leave a comment so that we can get a discussion going. Check out the Patreon, check out the Turtle School. That's there for you. Tools to help you learn and write and create stories. Thank you, and I appreciate you.